Did you know that over the last 100 years, the University of Alaska has built a tremendous foundation in Arctic research and education? That foundation is our springboard for the next 100 years of Arctic leadership. The United States is an Arctic nation because of Alaska. And it is imperative that we build upon our expertise and role in Arctic research and policy across the circumpolar Arctic. We are a key partner as we consider Arctic futures, including the important role of the Arctic in a global context. Our biggest strength is our excellence in research, our teaching, and our expertise, including the emerging focus on Arctic security. Our leadership within the circumpolar Arctic is important not only to guiding policy, planning, and infrastructure development, but also because we're nurturing and educating future leaders for our state. We are an exceptional university system with an outstanding history, faculty, alumni, staff, and researchers who specialize in the Arctic.
The Arctic is no longer one emerging area of interest. It is the area of interest. The United States White House just released a strengthened Arctic policy, announced that it will appoint an Arctic ambassador, and has put in place a structure that focuses on the Arctic's importance to the planet. This would include security, energy production, infrastructure development, conservation, and other interests that matter to us in Alaska. Appointing the ambassador at large is a signal that the Arctic is growing in importance for the United States and comes at a time where the stability and level of cooperation that we have historically enjoyed in the Arctic has changed.
What happens in the circumpolar North is consequential, and Alaska's universities are central to helping Alaska and the world understand its vulnerabilities and its strategic importance. Research in all areas is central to understanding the changes taking place in the Arctic.
As the system's lead research institution, the University of Alaska Fairbanks expends over $100 million annually in research grants, and that research is producing results. UAF generates more citations in Arctic-related publications than any other university in the country and is second globally in publications related to Arctic climate and geophysical sciences. We're also strong in applied research that has direct benefit for our communities, our industries, and our residents. For example, our College of Engineering and Mines tackles real-world challenges of building infrastructure in the Arctic environment. And as a result, our students get hands-on experiences ranging from novel solutions for ice road construction to permafrost stabilization and many other engineering challenges specific to the unique issues that we face here in the North. We're also receiving national and international attention for our work. For example, a UAF research team led by Dr. Katie Walter Anthony was recently recognized on a NOVA special on the impacts of thawing permafrost, which leads to sinkholes and release of vast amounts of methane into the atmosphere. This is something that Katie and her team have been studying for over a decade, including the potential impacts on global warming, as well as strategies to mitigate these sorts of effects.
The national recognition of our work in the Arctic is underscored by the recent announcements from the White House regarding the pending appointment of an ambassador and the release of the National Arctic Strategy that Amy Lovecraft mentioned. That is high-profile news, but we can't overlook the hard work driven by our congressional delegation. Senator Dan Sullivan has ensured the Arctic is seen as a critical part of our national security and defense strategies. Senator Lisa Murkowski, from her senior position in the Senate, has delivered the funding for new infrastructure and icebreakers, and she leads the Senate Arctic Caucus, inspiring her colleagues to think more deeply about the Arctic-related issues. The DoD Center for Arctic Security and Resilience is one of the key results of this hard work. The center at UAF serves as the lead for strategic and operational Arctic-related national security issues. Our experts contribute to the knowledge and scholarship through research, consultation, and education to meet the challenging issues shaping the circumpolar North. In addition to DoD, other federal agencies with the Arctic focus include the Departments of State, Commerce, and Interior. Of course, NSF plays a huge role in our work at the university as well. The U.S. Arctic Research Commission, which just held its commission meeting here in Fairbanks last month, has long been a partner to the university on domestic and international Arctic research, along with the state of Alaska and international partners. And I think you're aware that we are one of the only universities in the world with Arctic-capable research vessel. The research vessel Sikuliaq, owned by NSF and operated by the College of Fisheries and Ocean Sciences, is able to break ice up to 2.5 feet thick and recently reached the North Pole. Through the management of the Sikuliaq, the U.S. has a critical presence in the Arctic Ocean. Of course, this partnership and all of our Arctic partners better positions the university as a global leader within the Arctic.
As Cam said, the important role of federal agencies underscores Alaska's Arctic role, as well as our long-standing partnership with the Department of Homeland Security and the United States Coast Guard through the Arctic Domain Awareness Center, also known as ADAC. ADAC is committed to supporting polar operations through research, education, and outreach that advances safety, security, and the public good. Jeff Libby's leadership ensures that the center stays on track with its mission. The Arctic Energy Office, housed at UAF, serves as the principal advisor to the Undersecretary of Energy on all domestic Arctic issues, including science and national security. The office ensures a unified voice on all Arctic issues, including energy policies and the advancement of U.S. energy, science, and national security interests. Specific to Arctic security issues, the Ted Stevens Center for Arctic Security Studies is housed at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. This center provides opportunities for collaboration between the university and the Department of Defense. It is the newest of 5 existing DoD regional centers for security studies with a mission to advance Arctic awareness, DoD Arctic priorities, and address the impacts of climate change in the region. In all of these federal, state, and university partnerships, we have been central in the planning. Furthermore, the university has been the launchpad for those who now direct much of the nation's Arctic work. These include, but are not limited to, Dr. Mike Shrega, founding director of the Wilson Center's Polar Institute, who chairs the U.S. Arctic Research Commission, U.S. Arctic Research Commission Commissioner Dr. Mark Myers, Dr. Larry Hinsman, Assistant Director for Polar Sciences at the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Major General Randy Key, Director of the Ted Stevens Center for Arctic Security Studies, George Rowe, Director of the Arctic Energy Office, ICER Director Diane Hirschberg, Vice President Academic for University of the Arctic, former UAA Chancellor and former Lieutenant Governor Fran Ulmer, who served as Arctic Advisor to the former Secretary of State John Kerry and is now a Senior Fellow at Harvard's Arctic Initiative. Arctic policy study and Arctic research begin in University of Alaska colleges, centers, and institutes.
The International Arctic Research Center brings together experts from across the Arctic and beyond to increase the benefits that come from long-term observations and predictions in changing Arctic environments, and to study the impacts of climate change on health, natural resources, and communities. The Arctic Climate Stripes are a new installation at the International Arctic Research Center at UAF that document Arctic temperatures from 1900 to 2021. The bluish bands show that the temperature was lower than the average in a given year, with the deep blues being the coldest years. The reddish bands show above average temperatures, with the deepest reds being the warmest years on record. The installation shows how in recent decades, Arctic temperatures have been well above average. Making scientific knowledge accessible to the general public has been a long-time focus of the International Arctic Research Center and the Geophysical Institute at UAF. The Climate Stripes, Ned Roselle's Alaska Science Forum, and other efforts help us accomplish that goal through outreach products that inform Alaskans about our leading-edge science. From drones to glacier and permafrost research, the university leads in all areas of Arctic climate and earth sciences.
At the University of Alaska Southeast, our faculty and students engage in important Arctic-related research with partners in Alaska and around the world, and contributes in major ways to the understanding of the unique biocultural region we inhabit, including its premier coastal rainforests, majestic ice fields, glaciers, and rich marine ecosystems. The Alaska Coastal Rainforest Center at UAS studies the North Pacific coastal temperate rainforest and the neighboring coastal ocean ecosystems. The center supports ongoing work across the North to develop new methods to understand and predict glacial events at a glacier-dammed lake on the Mendenhall Glacier. Through interdisciplinary research on ecosystem interactions and the driving causes of change in this landscape, researchers can answer questions about the current and future state of Alaska's coastal ecosystem.
The Institute of Social and Economic Research has been at the forefront of social science and public policy research in Alaska for over 60 years. ICER's multidisciplinary staff conducts basic and applied research that is directly relevant to virtually all the major public policy issues facing Alaska. ICER academics have engaged in Arctic research for as long as ICER has existed, starting with George Rogers and Vic Fisher's extensive efforts in Arctic social science research. ICER researchers explore a broad array of topics. They are looking into natural hazard risks and adaptations, energy and natural resource development, social impacts and community resilience, and education and knowledge sharing in a changing Arctic. ICER staff work with a vast spectrum of data, both existing and new, that they gather, such as through surveys of Indigenous people and fieldwork across the North to better understand the living conditions in the Arctic. ICER has developed frameworks for assessing food, water, and energy security, and is constantly looking at economic needs and social consequences for communities as infrastructure development expands.
The university has an active role, not only in national Arctic efforts, but also in crafting Arctic policy decisions, which contributes to building its reputation as an Arctic leader. Through support for gatherings like the Arctic Encounters Annual Symposium, the university is telling the world that it is working to strengthen Alaska's role in Arctic policy, leadership, research, and development. And more so, to provide students and early career professionals with education, research experience, and the access to a global research network. There's no doubt that UA is engaged in developing the next generation of Arctic leaders so that they are ready to address the complex challenges facing our communities and world. The university also is implementing a multi-pronged initiative that will grow a strong Alaska network of business, tribal, Native corporation, state, and university expertise to understand and address problems both unique to Alaska and shared among Arctic nations. This initiative also will emphasize the importance of Indigenous leadership and research and the importance of Arctic policy for Alaska's future success.
All of what you've heard today is critical to our state and our university's future. But let's not forget that Alaska's Indigenous peoples are integral to our success as well. Our elders are the original Arctic innovators. An integration of Indigenous knowledge greatly improves research and economic development. Our faculty are also Arctic leaders. We hold leadership positions within the International Union of Circumpolar Health, the University of the Arctic, and we are central contributors to the Arctic Council working groups. Former UAA faculty member Dr. Daly Sambo-Doro just completed her tenure as the International Chair of the Inuit Circumpolar Council. As an expert in international human rights law, she has been a champion for advocating on behalf of the rights of Indigenous peoples. Together, we are dedicated to creating a resilient future, including how we incorporate and honor Indigenous knowledge, history, and culture.